WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. The action came fast and furious on the WNST tech service last week. This Joe Flacco will be dealt off to the Denver Broncos in a couple of weeks. Once we're through with the pre-tampering period, the tampering period, then the actual period where we're allowed to deal players off. This guy broke the story out of Denver, Colorado. Well, we saw him when the Broncos came through earlier. Mike Klis covers the Broncos for 9 News in the Mile High City. You can follow him at Mike Klis. That's K-L-I-S. Mike, what's going on, man? Welcoming a new quarterback to Denver. This is going to be an annual procedure for you guys out there since Peyton Manning, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's I think right after Peyton was the Paxton Lynch first-round draft pick, and Trevor Siemian beat him out anyway. He was a 7th rounder the year before. There was a competition between Siemian and Lynch in 2017 with Brock Osweiler coming into the fold. And then last year, Case Keenum was supposed to be a 2-year stopgap, a 2-year bridge, and it turned out to be 1 year, and the bridge collapsed apparently. And now Joe Flacco, and on top of that, there's a quarterback search every year and a head coach search every other year. Not exactly a picture of stability out here with the Broncos the last few years.
Well, this move here to bring Joe Flacco in, I am the Flacco apologist to some degree around here. Mike, I don't know about you, but I like guys that win Super Bowls. I know you're the Elway apologist too. He only wins Super Bowls, as a leader and as a quarterback. For the Broncos to pick up Flacco, I'm a little shocked. First off, I didn't know the Broncos were sort of going all in or felt like they were close enough to have a $20 million quarterback. I thought Jacksonville would want him more. We learned later that the Redskins were sort of the stalking horse. The Dolphins may have not had any interest at all. But I feel like a guy with Flacco's skill set, someone was going to find him attractive. I find it interesting that Elway was the first guy to sort of jump up and say, I want him bad enough. I'm going to make the highest bid right now.
Yeah, and, with the 4th-round pick, it really wasn't that much because the Broncos had an extra pick from the Demaryius, extra 4th-rounder, I should say, with the Demaryius Thomas trade at midseason. That turned out to be, put to good use by Elway. It wasn't the same pick as Demaryius, but because they had that one in hand, they could deal their own. And it really, when you think about it, it was about his only option. Foles, when you look at it, because Keenum, you decided Keenum wasn't good enough. That's number one. That was step one in the process, the evaluation process. And then how do you replace Keenum or with the quarterback? I don't think he's in love with any of the quarterbacks coming out in the draft. Now, he may take one and develop them for a year or two, but he sees them kind of as a long-term solution that need development. And it was either Flacco or Foles were really the only two out there. And Foles, for all he's done in the postseason the last couple of years, he started a combined 9 games the last 3 years. So only 3 starts a year, and he's going to get more north of $25 million a year, based on the franchise tag number. And Elway didn't want to pay that much for a guy with not that he's unknown, but just hasn't had the consistency as a starting NFL quarterback over the years. Flacco had more consistency as a starter, and so Flacco has a team-friendly contract. People who don't think it's team-friendly. At one point, he was the highest-paid quarterback in the game, maybe twice. But right now, at $18.5 million, he's 10th, and cash-wise, he's going to wind up 15th. Salary cap-wise, he's 21st. So he's very affordable. And then, they think he's got another couple of years left in him, if in the right system. Gary Kubiak had him in 2014. I think before Kubiak left, the idea was to package Flacco and Kubiak back together in Denver. It fell apart with Kubiak, but they got an offensive coordinator like him or at least from the same system in Rich Scangarillo. So Scangarillo and Flacco are going to run that West Coast type offense, the Kyle Shanahan offense, if you will, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if it's an upgrade on Case Keenum is where Elway is, and with Fangio and Munchak, these are experienced coaches. They're not coming in here for the long rebuild. They want to win sooner rather than later. And, that's why that all added up to Flacco making sense.
Mike Klis covers all things Broncos for 9 News. He was the first one to come in contact with the Flacco to the Broncos information last week. You can follow him out on Twitter at Mike Klis, that's Klis, or at 9news.com out in the Mile High area. What do you think Elway's learned through the last couple of years? And, obviously he moved to the front of the class to go get Peyton Manning when there were a lot of teams, Arizona, San Francisco, a lot of teams wanted Peyton. He grabbed Peyton, squeezed it to the end. And then after that, the draft pick, the spending of money on Keenum. I mean, look, when you're not fishing in the top of the pool, right, when you're not getting the top 10 or 12 quarterbacks in the league, they're not available, you take whatever's left. It just feels to me like Elway can't go to bed one night without thinking he at least might have a quarterback that might be able to win him some playoff games.
Yeah, I don't know what he's learned other than it's difficult. It's hard to find a quarterback. I mean, there's some franchises out there that, that never find one.
Well, we were one until we found Flacco, literally, right? We bounced around for about a decade and a half. We didn't have anything until we had Flacco.
Sure. I mean, you won a Super Bowl with Dilfer and Tony Banks there, splitting it up in 2000. And, yeah, you're right. They're tough to find. Jacksonville had Mark Brunell for about 3 or 4 years, and they are struggling. I'm not sure. Houston has one now with Deshaun Watson, but Matt Schaub was good for 3 or 4 years. You get 3 or 4 years with a top guy sometimes, unless you're Tom Brady, and there's a couple others out there, but for all of Big Ben's success with Pittsburgh. He hasn't won one since 2008. I mean, it's 11 years now since the Steelers have won the Super Bowl. Phillip Rivers never even got to the Super Bowl. So, it's a tough deal. You put a lot of priority on it. I think what Elway learned is, you just keep taking your swings. He swung and missed on Paxton Lynch, okay. He tried with Case Keenum. He swung and missed. He wasn't afraid to step back in the box and swing again. And
if Osweiler would have taken his money, Osweiler would have had the job to begin with, right? I mean, so part of that was a pathway that he went down because the kid turned him down, right? And Houston gave him all that money.
That's right. And I think John was a little. And going into 2016, right after the Super Bowl, he had to make a decision quickly on Osweiler, who finished well in 15. Houston really came at Osweiler aggressively with a contract. The Broncos came in about $2 million a year less. They also didn't, they were slow in making an offer. They kind of waited to see what Osweiler got before they made an offer. Then he got more than they thought he would get, and he turned them down. But it seemed like John only had 1 foot in and 1 foot out on Osweiler. So you're right. That's 3 quarterbacks, and now we'll see about Joe Flacco.
Well, it's fascinating you put it that way, to have 2 feet in or 2 feet out. I mean, to your point with Flacco, it's a little bit of money and it's a 4th-round draft pick. Let's not pretend that the Broncos have bet the farm on Joe Flacco. They are, I don't want to say lukewarm, but they're giving him a chance in a place where there is a chance, right, where that's all there is.
Yeah, I guess the worst-case scenario description of this is, they put a Band-Aid on a Band-Aid. Keenum was a Band-Aid. Maybe Joe Flacco's a Band-Aid for a year or two. At some point, you got Patrick Mahomes in the same division here with the Kansas City Chiefs. At some point, you got to get your quarterback for the future. And John kind of kicked the can again down the road, and as he tried to last year. I think Flacco and Vic Fangio. Overall, this is kind of the big picture here. It's Vic Fangio and Joe Flacco compared to Vance Joseph and Case Keenum, which is what the Broncos had last year. And on paper, anyway, it looks like the Broncos are better, that they've improved themselves already. And it's not even March 13th. We're still almost a month away from the opening of the league season. So he's done quite a bit to improve the team. He's still got a long way to go, though. When a team's 5-11 and 6-10, he hasn't gone from that to 12-4 and knocking on the Super Bowl door. He's still got a lot more pieces he has to fill or repair, and we'll see how he does.
The hiring of Vic Fangio,
in the draft.
Mike, last thing for you on Vic Fangio. I mean, a guy that was in Baltimore, a guy that spent some time here with Coach Billick, my partner, and then stayed on with John Harbaugh, a guy that Joe will be, at least familiar with at that point. The Kubiak thing falling apart and all of that. The Broncos, amidst all of this that's going on with Pat Bowlen and his children and Elway, and we're going through this transition now with Ozzie stepping down. We're going through a similar thing on the baseball side with the Angelos family and the kids taking over. But it's always been sort of Bowlen and Elway there, right? It's always been the same thing from the beginning. There's been a foundation there that I think we're familiar with here that may serve Joe well there because he's at least not going to some place that's a banana republic, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what a banana republic is.
Well, a different coach and a different coordinator and a different everything every 24 months in different way. That's a banana republic,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Oakland.
It maybe appears that way right now. There is some. There is one child that and an uncle that's filing suit against the trustees. The whole thing is you just got to win. I mean. If they were 10-6 and 11-5 the last 2 years, and they had the turmoil on top with the trustees and the kids, the infighting there, there wouldn't be any issues. When you're losing, they don't have a stadium name. There's a perception of chaos within the organization. And so I don't really think it is that way. The trust has been running this team for a long time, since 2011, really. And the team has had a lot of success. They had a lot of success from 11 to 15. You never heard of, problems with the trust running the team during those 5 years. Now that they've lost, they're looking at everything, and everything is fair game when you're losing. So, Flacco and I think Flacco will fit in well with the system. He's a likable guy. I got to know him in that postseason of 2012, and boy, he sure broke a lot of hearts around here. I think he'll be well received in time, but right now, I think the fans are questioning. John Elway's, all of John Elway's decisions right now because he's in a slump, as you are when you're losing.
Well, we know about that around here, too. It's been 6 years around here. I seem to remember, it feels like about 15 minutes ago, I was out there in Santa Clara watching Coldplay and watching you guys win a championship. Great to have you on, Mike. Take care of yourself, and thanks for making some time. Good job on breaking the story out there, and I'm sure we'll all maybe never get used to Joe Flacco wearing John Elway's colors out there, but it certainly will make for an interesting season next year. Good luck with Joe out there. You got a good human being coming out there to be your quarterback, man.
Appreciate it, Nestor. Looking forward to meeting him, and appreciate the time.
You got it. Mike Klis joining us here from News 9 out in Denver, and all things Rocky Mountain. You can find them at 9News, the number 9news.com, as well as Mike Klis. That's Klis. Find him out on Twitter. He's been covering the Broncos for about a year and a day, for sure. And the guy who broke the story on the Flacco deal to the Broncos. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I'm out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. The morning newspaper delivers digitally to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. It's all powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. It's $5 down, $10 a month to get you in the best shape of your life. And even though it's cold outside, it's warm inside Planet Fitness. Also warm inside Laurel Race Track in the Laurel Park facility down in Laurel. The Maryland Jockey Club has remodeled the sports bar down there. They got racing all weekend long. We're getting you ready for the races each and every day on the front of WNST.net with the races as well as in the morning newspaper where you get your entries each and every morning. If there's any breaking news like the Joe Flacco trade to the Broncos, you get it first on the WNST Tech Service. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard, and Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5 driving you home. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.